You ever wake up, look in the mirror, and wonder who the hell you're even looking at?
Yeah, man. Like, who's this dude pretending to be me?
Sometimes I feel like I'm auditioning for a role I didn't even want.
Yeah, that's why we're here today. This ain't therapy, but we damn sure are thinkers.
So, I think we're going to talk about the self today. Like the big S in self.
Right.
You know, like that.
Who are you without the titles?
Right.
Right? Looking past, like, most people, who are you? They want to say, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a cook, I'm a this or that, I'm a musician. But, like, what after that? What makes you you? What is the you-ness that we search for? The thing that we have the identity crisis over?
Eunice.
That's my grandma's name.
That's gonna be copyrighted after this. But anyways, yeah. I mean, dude, I don't even think I know who I am without a title. You know,
100%.
I like to think that I know who I am, but dude, like I literally. So when you gave me the topic for this episode, I was like, you know what, man? What am I? Like, cause I thought I knew at one point in time, and maybe I did know at one point in time, but now I'm like trying to think, and I'm like, what? Who? Where? What am I? What is self to me? You know, and I think it's hard to differentiate. You know, in a world full of noise and your personas that you have to, these masks you have to wear when you're on the internet, you know, like.
Right. Well, it's not just the internet. Like, for me, I learned to mask at an early age, right? And so as I got older, and a lot of people I've talked to have this idea, and I even heard Jim Carrey talk about it, that depression isn't really a disorder or a disease or whatever. It's your body becoming so tired from being masked all the time that you're so weighed down by this fake persona that's not fully you. It might be a part of you, but it's not all of you. Right? So I heard that idea and that concept, and I was like, well, shit, maybe. I mean, I've struggled with depression since I was a kid, but I had to learn to mask as a kid, right? I lived in a violent home. I had to mask when I was at home. I can't be myself.
Type situation.
Right. Yeah. So there was mental abuse as a child. Then as I got older, my mom got back with my real dad. He was physically abusive. I had to mask there, right? Or I had to fight. I didn't mind the fights, but still, sometimes you have to walk on eggshells to make sure your mom's okay, right?
I mean,
so
you do what you gotta do in order to protect
100%.
the ones that you love.
When I was at school, I masked. I didn't let anybody know that I had problems at home. You know what I mean? I was the funny guy. I was the one that caused scenes and had a good time, and so I masked everywhere. I learned that my sense of humor was going to carry me pretty far.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I let that do all the work, and I was just weighed down by it because I couldn't show the in-between parts. And to this day, I still have a problem with the intimacy issues. And it's not just a sexual intimacy. It could be an intimacy between you and I where I don't open up fully and let you in on how I'm feeling, which can cause issues of trust and so forth, so on between friends and stuff, right? So I struggle with those.
Because if somebody feels like you're holding back while you're in a conversation with them, especially somebody that you are
trust and
close with, you know, it's weighing and it's taxing on you. You know what I mean? Like it taxes the soul.
100%. Right. And that's kind of the issue that I was feeling there. So I started this whole self-exploration. Who am I? Like, I had my first big relationship with my son's mom was rocky, and we had issues, and it was just volatile between both of us. You know, if it wasn't me pissing her off, it was her pissing me off. And you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't do anything right. She couldn't do anything right. We just were oil and water, right?
Right.
And so I masked at home.
And here's what's crazy, and this goes back to like full circle to self. It's like, but at one point in time, you were compatible.
Right, exactly. The thing was, is we were so much alike that we were toxic for each other.
Right.
Right.
Repelled each other.
Right. Our bipolar would butt against each other, but like when it came to things we enjoyed, right?
Cycles.
Exactly. And so like she'd be in a bad mood and she took it out verbally.
Right.
Right. She was loud, obnoxious, and mean and rude. Right. So that was one thing that I was like, this is it's too much like growing up.
Right.
Right. I didn't want that. I was tired of masking. I was tired of being somebody I wasn't. So
especially if you gotta like exist around this person constantly.
Right.
And like you're developing a relationship that's supposed to go further than just like
your home should be where peace is. Right. You should feel comfortable. You can take everything off.
Right. You shouldn't have to carry the weight of that mask because, dude, the more personalities you amalgamate into that mask, the heavier it gets.
Oh, 100%. And for me, I was like, I need to, who am I? Because I don't fucking know.
Right.
I know I'm a dad. I know I'm a lover, a fighter, a comedian, a musician, a talker, a thinker. I want these things. I crave the intellectual. Right.
That's what you want to be a part of. Your identity. You want to identify as those
100%.
But that's not you. No. And like that's really what we're trying to dive deep into because
100%.
I mean, this could be a learning experience for me too.
This is going to be a several part. This is going to be a long series.
Right.
We're going to do a few episodes on self, so we're going to dive deeper into it. Today's more just the introduction.
Right.
We're kind of getting through some of the talking points, and then we'll dive.
Maybe kind of like familiarize ourselves with like key prominent figures in that area of thought.
100%.
So that way, I guess when we're talking about stuff, we ain't got to be like, well, this guy did this. Every time we talk about this guy did this.
Right. And we can dive like deeper into Descartes or Hume or some Eastern philosophies of sorts, right? And so for me, when I started looking into this, I was like, all right, so who is self? And philosophically, Descartes said, I think, therefore I am.
Cogito ergo sum.
Right. He assumed the self was the thinking mind. Okay. Right? Yeah. So that's what that was. I'm thinking, so I am me.
Right.
Right? You can't take that away from me.
Where do you fall?
Well, see, Hume said, he disagreed a little bit. He said that when he looked inside, he found only fleeting thoughts, sensations, emotions, no sustainable self at all. Right? So
he was probably one of those guys that don't have one of those inner dialogues. You know what I mean?
Right.
He was one of them guys. Do you know that 50% of the world's population doesn't have an inner dialogue?
Yes.
So there's walking around fucking empty-headed and shit.
Just completely like no thought at all. Right? And that's weird, right? So, and if that's the case, if you have no internal monologue, how does your thought process work? Right? I've thought about that. And that one has hung me up a couple of times.
Because I feel like I have to literally talk my brain into every stage.
Right. Is their software messed up somewhere? Right.
Or is our software messed up?
Right.
Right.
Maybe we are because we're ADHD. Maybe it's you know what I mean?
Maybe they're a more efficient thinker because they don't have to slow their thoughts down by having a conversation with themselves. But anyways,
so and then in Eastern philosophies, they often say that self is not your thoughts, identity, or body. It's the witness behind it all, right? It's the Atman, or the inner self, is one with Brahman, the universal reality, right? So those three really kind of define the philosophy of self. And so, like, when you're defining self, you have to pick what self do you find to be yourself, right?
Right.
And you have to define it from that vantage point, right?
Okay.
So self is so loosely defined. Do we really know what the self is? Do we know, like in psychological terms, Freud said the self is a mix of id, ego, and superego, which we talked about last week, right? So that's why we started there. So we had that basis, that outline. We have a dog, so you're going to hear the dog. This is a white trash podcast. So, Jung was about where said you wear your personas, the masks, right? And then we'll also go into Willem Reich here in the next segment where we kind of go into a little bit more of this, but just trying to define the self. There's the philosophical, the psychological, and then there's the spiritual, which Ram Dass, Alan Watts, and Buddhists will talk about, right?
Right.
And then you have the lived self, the one that has all your societal roles.
You ever stopped to think and be like, well, how did they define it?
Mm-hmm.
Because, can you define yourself?
Right.
And
what frame of thought, so for me, when I define self, I define it as kind of a mixture of the lot of them, is where I like to kind of put it. You know what I mean? It is my thoughts. It is my experiences. It is the masks I wear, right? They all accumulate to be who I am. So...
Okay, to me... I feel like the reason why we can't define it, with words, you know what I mean,
right.
Descriptive words.
There's not one set meaning.
Is because I think it's just being.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I think I think self is just existence.
Exactly.
The present, the moment.
The moment you're in, right.
Singular thing we're in.
And I think if you're doing it right, that self changes over time. My self now isn't the same self as last week. No. It's not the same self as it was 10, 20, 30 years ago, right?
I think self is amorphous. I think it doesn't have shape. It doesn't have boundaries to define it.
Right.
I think it's like it's a realm that exists.
There's fluidity to it. Right. And I think that's where people go with their gender expressions. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They say, so in a lot of ways, your gender or your sexuality or your mental state is fluid. That's kind of what it is. It's, you are who you are in this moment, right? But you need to change. You need to evolve. You need to see past.
Right. To not become stagnant.
Right.
Because Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche, he has a saying that says that, I can't do it verbatim, but I could, I guess. I do have the interwebs right in front of me, but I'm going to spitball it because I just think it's better that way. He says that in all corners of the world sit people waiting,
Mm-hmm.
They don't even know what they're waiting for.
Right.
They're waiting for that inspiration, that motivation, that jolts them with a spark of life that makes them stand up and say, I'm alive. But unfortunately, it's rare that people find it. Just through osmosis, and their souls become heavy, and their bodies become frail.
Right.
And then they're no longer able to stand.
Right. So when you're waiting, are you actually seeking, or are you just waiting? Right. And I tend to lean more toward Taoism. Right, with the Wu Wei, the go with the flow. Right. You just kind of you don't fight the current. You go with life as it comes.
Right. Because you're not the driver, if you will.
Right. 100%.
You know what I mean?
So, and if you fight against it, 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up in a worse predicament than you would have been if you would have just
dash yourself against the rock.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So with that, and you don't want to cling to the shore, because if you cling to the shore, you're never moving. You're never getting upstream, so to speak, right? So with that idea, I've always sat there and been like, that's been my philosophy since I was a teenager. I labeled it just go with it. Right. That was my idea. That was what I wanted. I wanted to just go with it. I'm not planning anything. I'm just doing what happens. right? And I had a blast.
I feel like it's less stressful that way.
It is.
Because-
And then I got with somebody. I was in a relationship for 10 years with somebody who was like, we have to plan this out. We have to go with the curriculum as it's set up. And it's like, I don't function that way. I can't function that. And I tried to, and I would do what I needed to in those moments. But
Right.
when things would go off the rails, I was the one that was able to be like, all right, well, now I can save the day because my just go with it fits perfectly here.
Right. And but you also have to understand that there's the reason why there is an opposite camp of thought is because sometimes it doesn't work out just going with it. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
And I think that like in your existence, in your present moment, in yourself, that ideology fits. Maybe
Right.
in that moment,
Right.
Because we do change.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
that's one thing that is inexorable is change. It's gonna change. It's gonna change. You know what I
Right.
mean?
100% of the time. Yeah.
Everything can be changed.
That's
except
the
for
only
change.
thing that is concrete is
Right.
like change and death.
And that's it because we are infinitesimal, so we experience things a lot faster than say a tree or a rock. That's, what I mean? So, but going in with that though, I just feel like for me, structure works for me.
Right. And for me, sometimes wearing a mask works for me.
Right.
Right? I feel like I'm able to adapt to a situation. But then through this journey, when I first started looking at self, I saw this poem by Shel Silverstein. Right?
Okay.
He writes poems that
It's a he,
Shel Silverstein, yes.
dude.
He wrote The Boy Named Sue.
I've lived a
Did you know
lot.
that?
Huh?
He wrote The Boy Named Sue. Johnny Cash song?
Really?
Yeah, he wrote that.
My entire life is a lie.
Yeah, well, so he wrote books basically, Where the Sidewalk Ends, Falling Upwards, Light in the Attic, right?
Yeah. I've read all of them.
All of them, right? I love them. They were good poems. There was one that hit me, and I was like, as a child, I was like, as a child, you read these and you're like, okay, they're poems, they're silly, they're goofy, they're whatever, right? For me, I read this one and I was like, how is this in a child's book? Because this is so fucking deep, right?
Right.
The song, the poem's called Masks. She had blue skin and so did he. He kept it hid and so did she. They searched for blue their whole life through, then passed right by and never knew. And I was like, damn, that's deep as fuck.
That's
Like, so
deep.
when you hide yourself, you're missing out on love, or you're
Yeah.
missing out on an opportunity, or you're missing out everything, right?
Because
you're not being your authentic self, right? So I think it's important that we all find that inner, who we really are, that
Right.
true self, right? And that's why I wanted to do this series, especially because I was planning this whole thing out, and then we did the ego, id, and super ego, and I was like, oh, this would flow perfectly afterward, right?
I mean,
We
it
can
is.
build on it, we can do everything we need to. And I was like, that really encapsulates my current growth process, what I'm what I'm working on in therapy, what I'm doing,
Right.
When I first started, it was hard for me to look in the mirror because all I saw was images of my dad, right? Like, I look a lot like him. I look a lot like my mom, too, but, like, when you're in a bad headspace, you only see
Well,
the
you
negative,
magnify
right?
whatever you focus on.
Right.
That's
And it doesn't help that my mom would smack me when I was a kid. Before I even knew my dad, she would smack me and tell me to quit acting like my dad or quit looking like my dad.
yeah. Every mom says that.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm not the one that fucked him. How is it my fault? You know what I mean?
What gets me is like, dude, I never even met the bastard.
Right.
How the fuck?
Yeah, I
Thank
don't
you
know
for
what
telling
I'm
me
doing.
acting like
Right.
somebody I never met.
Right.
Thank you.
This isn't my fault, right?
I apologize for that.
You thought it was a learned behavior? Joke's on you.
I literally have been in those shoes.
Yeah.
Like I have. And you don't know what to say to it because you're like, well, I've never even met the son of a bitch. So,
Accurate.
like,
100%
I'm sorry.
accurate.
I'm sorry. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Right. So that lived in my head for a while. So I would mask in that way. I would try to keep my facial expressions a certain way. Happy, jovial. So that way it didn't look like my dad.
Right.
Because after I met him, I realized when he smiles, it looks like a frown. And I even told him, I said, "You're the only motherfucker I've ever met that frowns when they're happy." And he was like, "Ah, you're funny." And I was like, "I'm being serious, but all right." Call it what you want, but that's some deeper shit. You know what I mean?
You gotta work on that. That's his journey. You know?
Exactly right. And so once I got past all the healing from childhood trauma, and I'm still work on it from time to time. There's still things that pop up that I'm like, oh, that's a thing I didn't know bothered me. All right, but I work on it now, and I'm trying to work on who myself is and who I want to be when I walk out into the world. What do I want to exude? What do I want to show off? Right? There's so much hatred.
So then we gotta ask ourselves: is that the self?
Right. Is that who I authentically am?
Is that the
right? Self? And for me, I know that I've always been kind. I've always thought of others. I've always thought what's best for the overall group. Right.
Right. You got everybody else's interest in front of yours.
Right. And is that because I was raised the way I was?
Or maybe it's because the suffering of doing without.
Right.
So you'll always constantly try to fix.
Right. And my whole childhood, I felt like I had a great mom. You know what I mean? Like, I look back and I'm like, well, this wasn't great, but, and I move through and process some of those things, and I try to talk to her. Sometimes she blows up and doesn't like it. Sometimes I blow up and she doesn't like it. But that's just a part of the process, I think.
It's crazy because I think that it was the opposite for me and my mom, because I thought I had this worst childhood ever. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, gosh, she hates me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but then looking back at the behavior I exhibited,
right.
What else was she gonna do?
Right.
And she did the best with what she understood in her frame of understanding. You know what I mean?
And see, I see that, and like my mom did that kind of similar.
Right.
It was like we were in shitty situations. Her boyfriends weren't the greatest guys in the world, and she put up with it.
Right.
So looking back at it, I'm like, why did you put up with that for so long? Like, you could have left him. He was not contributing in any way, shape, or form. And her biggest
but here's the thing, though. He was. In a limited way,
right?
He was.
Right.
He was providing her with companionship,
right? But
even in attention that you can't provide,
right?
You know what I mean?
Of course, right?
So,
because there's stuff that, like, as a father, I can talk to my kids all day, but they don't meet that.
Right.
That niche thing that I need. Right. That's why I talk to you. That's why I talk to Kayla. That's why I talk to Anthony, or I talk to my therapist even. Like, I talk to those people because
you have needs that are not always.
Right. But the thing is a lot of those guys weren't hitting those marks either.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. And I know that because my mom shared that with me.
Right.
Right. I was her friend. She talked to me. She confided in me. I watched her grow up. Right. And I was very, very present during all of that. And so from me, I learned there's fallibility with everybody. You can't always depend on the people you should be able to depend on. So I learned that quick. So when I had kids, I made sure they knew, hey, I'm not perfect.
Right.
Don't put me on a pedestal. I'm not the end all be all. I'm not the greatest dad in the world. I'm not any of those things. You can think that yourself personally, but do it for a reason, not because you it's just ingrained in what you want to think.
Right.
Look at, my dad did this, and this for me, and I appreciate him for those things.
Right.
But he also fucks up in this, and this way.
Right.
I'll sit them down.
Are human.
Right. Exactly.
Parents are human.
And I want them to know that. I don't want them to have that crisis later on where they're struggling with that idea of, my dad wasn't perfect and fucked me up because of it. Well, he fucked me up because he wasn't perfect, and I understand that. And so it's not a huge disappointment if I do something wrong.
Right.
But I also sit down and I talk to him and I'm like, hey, am I doing something that you don't like? Am I doing something that you feel I need to do better at?
Right.
Right? Do I need to step up in any certain area? Do you want to do this? Or do you want to do this? Where do you feel our relationship's lacking? And I try to get a consensus, because I'm doing all the fatherly stuff. I know I'm hitting those ticks. Right? I'm teaching you. I'm trying to get you prepared for real life after you turn 18.
Right.
Right? But is there anything I can do that would make you feel better, make you feel more comfortable, make you feel more appreciated, loved, anything,
yeah,
right?
anything, yeah.
And they always say no, and I'm like, okay, well, either you don't give a fuck enough to give me a response, or I'm doing a decent job, right? And I always tend, because of the way my brain works, to lean toward, well, they're just not wanting to fucking talk. All right, cool. So
it makes it a lot easier if you have that train of thought.
Right.
So then if you're like, damn, dude, I don't know.
If I'm hitting all the marks, I'm doing a fucking great job. Swish, bitch. Nailed it. You know. So that's the kind of idea I wanted, like, to ingrain in them. Look,
right.
Like, this is your life too. Like, you're learning, you're growing. Is there something I haven't taught you that you want to know? I told him, if you want to experiment with drugs, if you want to experiment with alcohol, anything like that, come to me, talk to me. We'll talk about the ups and downs, ins and outs of them.
Right.
There are certain drugs that are a hard no always.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I try to always instill that. Certain drugs are a hard no. Heroin is a hard no. Meth is a hard no. I've seen what that does to people in their lives.
Yes, it's ruined my life.
Right, exactly.
It began to ruin, because it's not ruined anymore. But anyway.
Right. But you flipped it around. But you did have to, you were incarcerated. You went through a system because of it. You had to deal with the bullshit day-to-day life of that.
Yes.
Right? And I see that. And I've seen that in other places and other people I care about, right? And so I'm like, certain things are hard no's. Do not, for the life of you, try these. But marijuana, if you want to try cannabis, I understand. But do not just get it from anybody, because it can have other drugs laced in it. You don't know. You know what I mean? You need to know that you're getting a good, reputable product.
Right.
Right?
Because, you know, I mean, you don't want them to fucking die.
Right. Exactly. I don't want them addicted or dying.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, if you drink alcohol, there's a limit.
But, you know,
if you're doing this, there's a limit.
You're saying, because, I mean, ultimately, I feel like experimentation is part of growing up.
Right. You're either going to or you're not.
There's going to be times when you're going to, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it could happen.
100%.
And I think controlling the narrative is a lot better than trying to fucking just pretend like it doesn't happen, or control them and be like, you can't go anywhere because there might be marijuana there.
Right.
Oh my God. So if you can at least educate them as far as like the severity and the problems that come with all these things and why they're so bad, and you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like you're doing your due diligence, but you're not hindering them. We're trying to fucking shelter them. You know what I mean?
Right. And I want them to know the truth about the products that are out there. What is this that makes you feel like you want to try it? What have you heard about this that makes it interesting to you?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I try to get those ideas and talk about them with them, because my two older ones are teenagers now. So when I speak to them as I'm speaking to a fucking teenager, just an average teenager, not my child, not somebody that I think's not going to do something wrong. Oh, you're a perfect little baby. You know, I don't do that because I know that's not the truth. I know my kids. I know that they get curious about things. My son is a little bit like more straight-laced. Like, he doesn't care about drugs or drinking or smoking. But my daughter definitely is interested in those things. You know what I mean? Like, I already know. She talks. She came up to, she's 14. She was like, "Can I vape?" And I was like, "You're fucking 14." But then in my head, I was like, "You were 11 when you started smoking actual cigarettes." And I was like, "All right, do you know what vaping is?" You know, and I'll go through this whole thing with her, right? And I'm like, do you realize that it causes lifelong addiction? And these are things you need to know before you actually say, "Hey, yes, I do want to try vape."
Right.
You know what I mean? Contemplate that. Mull it over in your head.
Right.
You know, give it some actual thought.
Not just jump on something.
Right, because, my friend vapes. Right.
My friend is vaping, so I'll vape.
Right. We vape because we stopped smoking.
I'm going to go ahead and probably give it to you even more real. Like, if she asked you if she could vape, she's probably already vaped.
Oh, definitely. You know, we caught her with one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So,
but she came to us and was like, "Hey, I got that from my friend. I wanted to try it. I tried it. Can I do it?" And I was like, "I need to talk to your mom because this is way more than I thought I was going to deal with today." So, and that's the good thing. Me and my daughter's mom aren't together, but we co-parent well.
Right.
You know, we go through those, you know, things. So I have to look inside. What morals do I set up here? For me, who am I if I tell them no when I did the same thing at a younger age?
Right.
Does that make me a hypocrite, or does that make me a good parent?
I don't know.
Do I teach them, hey, this is why these are bad? Yes, 100%.
Of course.
They're addictive because of X, Y, and Z. They cause these issues.
Sure.
You can have...
They can kill you.
Right.
You go to jail. These are all the potentials of all these things.
Right.
There is cons to everything.
100%.
You know?
100%. And my daughter is addicted to caffeine already. And I'm like, hey, we need to be a lot better about this because you were drinking. She's like, I want to drink a Monster and then we'll get my other Monster. And I'm like, no, whoa, 2 fucking Monsters? That's fucking a lot of caffeine. She's like, for
like
me,
180 milligrams
right,
per Monster.
Right. And for me, I drink a Monster and I can go to sleep, right? Because I'm ADHD.
Right.
I feel like it's kind of similar for her. I don't think it gives her energy. I just think she likes the taste of it.
And that might possibly be the case. Honestly, to be completely honest with you, I drink an energy drink, but I don't think I actually feel anything off of them. So,
Right.
I think it's, I don't know why, because we're really just spending like almost $5 on a fucking can
100%
pop, you know?
Right, exactly. When you can just get another one for cheaper. I get a big bottle of water now, and I try to drink more water. I'm trying to be more health conscious because my health isn't as good as it once was, and I woke up one day and was fat and tired.
It's as good once as it ever was.
Yeah, if you want to get Toby Keith with it. So I try to, like, this has been a big journey in physical health and mental health. I've been trying to find my path, right?
Right.
So we can dive deeper into these and talk about ideas from, you know, Jung and Ram Dass and some Eastern philosophies, and we can talk about
Wilhelm
Reich as well. We can dive into those a little bit and kind of touch on those, and then we'll build off of them in a later episode and really build that up so we can get into the meat and potatoes of it all.
I really would like that, and I think that we could probably educate ourselves as much as
Others,
man.
Right.
You know. But you know.
So for me, like I've really been into the Eastern philosophies a lot. I've been looking into those a lot more. I've been trying to figure out, hey, what part of me do I think connects most to this? And for me, like with my philosophy from when I was a teenager, I lean into Taoism and Buddhism, right? I love Buddhism because it's just a modern version of Taoism, right? And you can relate it to things
Really modern if you
100%
compare it to the age of Taoism,
right? Exactly. And you can even link it into Buddhism and some of the things there. I've listened to Jeff Bridges talk about. He wrote a book with one of the guys that's in Buddhism, one of the higher guys in that, and they wrote a book together. With different little, sayings and stuff, and it was like, so you can link Buddhism with a couple of different Eastern philosophies, right? And I like that. I like the laid back feel of it. I like that kind of go with the flow attitude, just laid back. It doesn't have to be so fucking on pins and needles all the time, right? And that's kind of how I was growing up in trailer parks and project housing. Like I see all these negative things around me, but if I just go with it, I can kind of wander through in and out of things unscathed almost.
Right.
So for me, I really dive deep into that portion of it. And then here recently I've gotten more, trying to learn more about different philosophies and ideas from more modern thinkers and stuff. And then you brought up Wilhelm Reich, right? Yeah. Wilhelm Reich. And his ideas.
Right.
So if you want to dive into those, I would love to give it a listen and try to understand it a little bit better.
Well, he's got some pretty interesting concepts of self, and Wilhelm Reich he looks at the self as not like a fixed entity, it's an ongoing experience, it's the individual in their surroundings right now. You know, it's and to me, I feel like it's more of a better definition because, like, I feel like as descriptive as we are, we should be able to define things better. But anyways, he also viewed like the ego kind of like weird as well. I guess weird. Well, not weird, but like against social convention. You know? And the way he viewed it as an armor that like coated the self.
Right.
You know, and as you, I guess, put up more defenses and hide more things, it's kind of like what you were going on. And it's like you can't connect anymore with yourself.
Right.
Or better yet, you can't connect to the world around you even because yourself is so closed off and hidden behind all these layers.
Right.
And I just thought it was a really interesting concept, you know. And
right.
I wish I would have like remembered to pick up on this like when we were actually talking about ego, you know.
Right. Definitely, and we can add that more into that next portion that we dive into that fits that. I have a few points, like with Carl Jung and the self and the persona, right? Yeah. The persona is the social mask you wear to function in society. It's who we present ourselves as. The job title, the humor, the vibe. It's not like the full truth, right? And then you have the self. In Jungian philosophy, it's the totality of the psyche, right? It includes conscious awareness and some of the unconscious. It's the true center of identity, right? And then you so Jung said the persona is a mask, but it is not the whole truth of the self, right? He believed individualization, becoming whole, required recognition and integrating shadow elements and moving toward the self.
Right.
And then you have like Ram Dass, right? Ram Dass, he wrote Be Here Now, which is a really great book. It's about being more present and mindful, right? Really well-written book. It's an interesting read. I have a copy of it. I enjoy Ram Dass's thoughts as well. Ram Dass taught that you are not your thoughts, emotions, or body, but rather the awareness of observing it, all of it. Right?
Yeah.
He popularized the idea of the witness. The still, silent observer within. The key practice of it is like watching your thoughts without judgment or attachment. That part of you that sees is the self, right? The one just kind of viewing everything. Okay. And Ram Dass said the game is not about becoming somebody; it's about becoming nobody.
Okay.
And then
powerful for real.
Right. And then with Eastern philosophy, you're Atman and Brahman, right?
Right.
In Hinduism, Atman is the individual soul or self. Brahman is the ultimate reality or universal consciousness, right? The teaching is Atman is Brahman.
Right.
Your true self is the universe, just appearing as you.
Right.
The illusion of separateness called Maya hides the truth. All is one.
You know, and that's crazy because Buddhism and Hinduism both believe in Maya as the illusion.
Right.
In both religions, both of them reference Maya.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Right.
And it's kind of cool. You know, they are pretty close to each other, I guess, like as far as localization. But I think it's pretty interesting to have two separate ideologies, you know, agree on two different things, you know.
Right. And to finish this up, like, I'm probably going to butcher the name,
Bhagavad Gita.
Gita.
Yeah.
I was trying to say the first time. I had Gita. All right. So the quote is, "The self is never born, nor does it ever die, because it's universe," right? It's so.
Yeah. What that line is actually referencing is Krishna is on Earth.
Right.
And he's posing as this, as a prince.
Right.
Or not a prince, but like as an advisor to a prince. The prince's name is Prince Arjuna, I think is his name. It's been a long time since I've read Bhagavad Gita. But anyways, they're like, he is literally telling this prince, and he's like, "Hey, I know you see all these people in front of you. If they're in the middle of a war, right?
Right.
He's like, I know you see all these people in front of you, and I know a lot of them are your family because, we're warring with each other,
Right, 100%.
You got to understand, like, it's okay because we're all really just one.
Right.
So, just do it. Let it happen. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Yeah, it's like,
Right.
so he talked the prince into like to attacking his own family members.
Right.
And this is Krishna,
Right.
the holy, like the
Right.
head. I mean,
The main.
they're all
They have
the
a lot,
same. They're
right?
all the same.
Right.
God, I guess. Krishna.
Right.
But
So if I can observe it, am I not it? Right. The phrase is rooted in non-dual philosophy and mindfulness traditions. Right.
right.
If you can observe your body, are you not just your body? Your emotions, you are not just your feelings, your thoughts, you are not just your mind. Right.
Yeah.
So who's doing the watching? That awareness is the self. It's not a thing you have. It's what you are.
Okay.
Right.
And I get that. That makes perfect sense because I feel like there has to be an observer. If there's no observer, if there is no observer, then that makes me the deity of this universe.
Right.
Just saying, and you are really just me.
And if we're all one, why do we fight? Why do we? Right. We're at war with one another. We always find a group to want to be a part of, right? We want to stick with this or that, and we want to fight because, right? My dad's stronger than your dad, right?
It's all
at
about,
whatever level, you know. So, like, we found that tribalism, right? And that seems to fill a part of us that seems missing in some aspects, right? Mm-hmm. But I think, especially through this, my whole life, I've never been the guy who wanted to be a part of a group, right? I found groups and became part of groups, but it was natural, and it wasn't like, because I remember when I was a kid, I lived in projects, and like I had somebody ask if I wanted to be a part of their gang, and I was like, what is that? And they were like, we got to jump you in. I was like, no.
I'm out. You already
lost. You want to fight me for me to be your friend? That doesn't make sense to me.
Nope.
I'm out. Right? You're fighting over colors? No, I'm good. This street's my street. We rent this property. That was my idea at the time. Like, I'm not fixing to kill somebody or be killed over something that I don't even own. That's not even mine. Right? So early on, I had that kind of concept of, like, I don't need to be a part of groups that feel this way. Right?
Because, just because all these guys say they have your back doesn't mean that you should change how you think to better serve them.
100%, right. And that's another thing, is as you find yourself, as you figure things out, as you feel more at peace with yourself, you're able to pull yourself from those situations and look at the bigger picture. And I think a lot of society has a difficult time looking at the big picture. It's what serves me right now.
Right.
What serves me in the next 5 years. But what serves you also serves me. Right? If you do good, then I can do good. Right? So there's, like, a lot of different philosophies out there, right?
So
we can break these down, and we can go into fucking everything in depth and talk about it for fucking ever, right? There's probably enough philosophy out there that we'll never get through.
Well, we'll probably die still talking
everything,
about philosophy,
right?
So,
And it's something that I've always been interested in, these deeper thoughts, these deeper ideas of what makes me and what makes you you.
I say we do a viral challenge where you lock yourself in a room with no food and water, and you got to talk about philosophy until you get through every subject of philosophy.
Right.
And see who can live the longest.
Right. I think there's going to be a lot of dead hungry people.
That was not serious.
Oh,
Spiral challenge.
They've done dumber. I've seen dumber ones. All right, so that was kind of like my quick synopsis of what I've been diving into. Right, what we'll be getting into deeper in the future episodes, but we have to meet the little self, right?
Yes. Now this part is the one that everybody kind of misconstrues and like confuses with the big self. You know, I feel like it's
Right.
they're two different things. You know?
Right. We kind of touched on this a little bit. Like, it's breaking down the ego, the roles, the identity attachments, right? Talking points, right? We got to make sure we hit these certain things, right? Because it's making sure that ego isn't evil, it's a tool, but it can hijack the system, right? Your ego becomes too inflated, you become self-indulged, you become more grandiose than you're supposed to be, right? I'm the greatest thing that ever lived, right? But it's also, you know, the little self. I'm the writer, you know, or whatever role fits the moment, right? That's vital to who the little self is. Right. The self we protect, defend.
You're the writer, I'm the fighter.
Right. And sometimes pretend, right? We have to protect, defend, and pretend to get through.
I feel like pretending is 90% of the world today.
Right. I mean, how many times have you had to sit there with this mask on that you want to smack the shit out of somebody?
But I got to smile.
But you got to smile. Your boss, your whatever. You know what I mean?
The list is endless, really.
Right.
The list, I could go on.
Yeah.
Real, I mean,
hey, so
can we just do a whole episode where I talk about everybody that want to slap this shit out of?
I mean, we could. I don't know if we could put it out, but we could definitely make
bullshit. That people want to know.
Right, people do want to know, but I think if those people heard it, they could take it to court because it's premeditated at this point.
I was just kidding, bro.
As your lawyer, I have to sit back and say
As your legal counsel. Thank you.
That's illegal for me to say. I'm not actually a lawyer.
What's the lawyer's name on Fear and Loathing Las Vegas?
Dr. Gonzo.
Dr. Gonzo.
Yes.
Yeah, you're the Dr. Gonzo.
That was such a good fucking
Isn't it crazy though? He went that back. That's
that is 100% a different episode. So we're getting into the mask parade now. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna get personal and name the masks we wear. Okay. Right.
Well, you know,
I've been the tough guy, the funny guy, the angry guy, right? But none of them were actually me. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has a lot to do with social media and how it messes with the identity, man.
It does.
It fucks it all up.
100%.
You look at all these posts of people that you idolize or that you respect, that you
influencers and everything, right?
Influence you in some form or fashion, even if it's just a simple like, I think this person's funny. You know, it's they paint and it makes us want to model our lives after things that aren't real.
100%.
You know, like we feel like in order for us to be accepted or welcomed into society's arms or people's arms, we have to do those things that we see around us and emulate them in order to feel some form of comfort when you're not in the comfort of your own domicile. Not so docile. Domicile. Anyways. And I think that's kind of like why we got so used to wearing masks in order to create this fake self.
100%.
Because fake is the new real. How many times have you heard that saying? Fake's the new real. Fake's the new real.
Right.
I've heard it a million times. I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe
even
it's where we live.
Well, even like, how many times have you heard somebody say "fake it till you make it"?
Truth.
Right.
I've heard that a lot. So
you've heard it a lot, and it's not something that we should
normalize.
Right.
But we do.
We do. 100%.
You know, if we didn't do that, I'm not going to get into like all this. What's wrong with the world? That's a whole other podcast.
100%. But like, the mask ends up becoming a prison if you wear it too long, right? And like I said earlier, that's kind of where they think some depression stems from. There's a group of people that believe that if you wear the mask too long, you will be wore down by it, and it almost becomes impossible to take it off, right? Like with me, I partied so much in high school, and I was the party guy all the time. I went to the parties, I told the jokes, I'd stand up in front of everybody on a karaoke machine and do stand up, right?
All right, little Dickie.
And I would get like these laughs. Oh, this is what I need right now. This is
attention. It's,
right.
It's
right. I craved
fueling
it. Right.
You know, and dude, honestly, like that's how I've ended up in like 90% of my relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, as I got older and got out of that, it became very difficult to separate that. And then when I did separate it, I over-separated.
Yes.
Right? To the point where I was struggling to find that sense of humor again. Where I struggled to find who that guy is. I want to laugh again. I want to joke.
It's not even my humor.
Right.
I stole it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, dude, I've been in that situation, like, you know, with just putting so many masks on that, dude, I just feel like I can't even get up off the couch anymore because, like, I'm just pressed down by all the weight of the lies because, you know, I don't know about you, but like I have a conscience,
right?
And like there are people that don't have a conscience. I'm not saying that you. I don't think you have a conscience,
right?
I just feel bad when I do that, you know?
Right.
And then, like, I might forget that I feel bad about it 20 minutes after I've no longer around the person I'm wearing the mask for,
mm-hmm.
but I still feel the weight, you know what I mean?
Right.
Even though, like, I might not feel bad about it after they're out of the room, but, like, the weight is still there. Whether it's not a physical weight, but it's like it's an emotional weight, you
mm-hmm.
know?
That's 100% factual. I mean, you kind of sit back and you watch yourself do these things too, right?
Right.
It's the watcher at the window, right? Okay. You sit there and you see yourself doing these things. And sometimes you can't force yourself to stop, right? Sometimes you're just observing life and not doing anything about anything.
Like some creepy cuckold.
Right, you're just a creepy cuck in the corner, right? And if you're into cuck, that's perfectly fine, right? I would never kink shame. But are you the guy just watching the world go by from the corner? Are you watching yourself do things and not stopping yourself? Are you taking in what you see and then reflecting on it, right? That's where I've noticed I do the best, is when I reflect on my actions. Sometimes I can do it in the moment.
Yeah.
Sometimes I struggle.
Dude, I have a problem with reacting
before
and then going back and being like, dang, dude,
I could have handled it differently.
I could have handled stuff differently. Why do we let things, I guess, divert us from ourself? Why do we let it
100%.
divert us? You know what I mean?
Correct.
Like, why do I feel like I have to put this mask on so that and go away from self?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why do I feel like I have to do that?
Right.
Because, I mean, ultimately, I think we all do it.
100%. Right. So as you watch yourself, you have to be able to say, hey, I do need to play this out differently. You got to be able to catch yourself in some of these moments and say, hey, this isn't the way. Yeah. Right? Use a little Jedi trick on yourself if you got to.
I'm really loving the ambience we got in the background.
Right, definitely. The storm just came out of nowhere and rumbled the fucking house.
Hopefully it's picking up on the mic.
Yeah, hopefully, because then it really sets the ambiance perfectly. Yeah. We didn't expect a storm to roll through as we were recording. But that's all a part of day-to-day life, and we're just going with it. You know what I mean? So as we get into wrapping this up, we're going to hit the Socratic question of the week, which is going to be a permanent part of our one of our segments. We might introduce a couple more segments throughout as we grow and learn what we want and like. And we have some ideas that we're working on and we're hoping to introduce those soon. TikToks and stuff. If you see anything of us on TikTok, you know that we fleshed everything out properly.
Yeah. Hopefully it works out.
We have a great idea. We're just waiting to see if we can get it into fruition.
Well, if
right.
you're listening to this, tell somebody else to listen to it.
Right. Share the TikTok. Share the podcast.
Tell somebody that's to listen to it.
Get it out there. Right.
And if you can't get nobody to listen to it, at least put it on a loudspeaker and just play it.
Play it for everybody, especially if you're in a trailer park. Make sure everybody hears.
It's free.
Yeah.
It's free to do it.
Yeah, it's free to listen to this, so share it with people.
We don't want no money from y'all.
No, if we get money for y'all listening, then we can make this better eventually, where you don't hear the thunder. Maybe you like the thunder. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Or the dog. Yeah, we might be able to get a studio one day. You know what I mean? Maybe a shed out back. Whatever. But our plan is to grow and build this into something, because we.
So what's up with the next episode? You got anything planned?
Yeah, well, with the next episode is going to be the part 2 to this, Masks and Mirrors. It's the identity we inherit and imitate, right? We're going to get that, dive into that pretty deep, where we're taking a look at us with our masks and reflecting on who we actually are. Right, that's kind of the thought process there.
Oh man, I need to go to therapy to get this one over.
Right, so our Socratic question of the week: if you took away your name, your job, your history, and your body, who would be left to answer that question? Right, just those titles, those things. You take those away, who is left? Hit us up on our social media. I am Adelphi Jake on almost everything. And we'll plug our other socials into the description so you can find it when.
Hashtag nasty.
Stink, stink, stunk, nasty.
I tried.
I know. You always do
I
that.
think that was my social.
Hashtag.
Yeah.
Hashtag be you. But so that's our episode for the week. Tune in next week and we'll dive heavier into the idea of self as we grow along this journey.